It's time for the Las Vegas Sportsline, brought to you by CG Technology Sportsbook.
Money won is twice as sweet as money earned.
Presented by WagerTalk.com.
And here we go. It's the Thursday edition of the Las Vegas Sportsline. It is brought to you by CG Technology Sportsbooks. And, boy, what a good day to have Will Bernanke, risk analyst for CG, joining us because they posted some over and under win props for college football this season. First out of the gate with that stuff, and I think they posted 13 or 14 teams. We'll talk about them when we come on. And that's, that Ralph, that gets us one step closer to the start of the college football season. Ralph Michaels is here from Wager Talk. I'm Dave Koch, George Justice is our producer. And again, Will Bernanke joining us in just a little bit. Quick scoreboard update. Let's see what we have here. In progress, going to the bottom of the ninth at Wrigley. And actually, the Rockies are just 1 out away now from closing out a 3-1 victory. Good start by Lambert, who was making his Major League debut today, and he pitched a beauty for the Rockies. The Astros lead the Astros lead the Mariners 4-1 in the top of the fifth inning, which is not a surprise with Justin Verlander on the mound. The other day game action is complete. The Brewers beat the Marlins 5-1. The Cardinals got a couple late and topped the Reds 3-1. Red Sox held off the Royals 7-5. The Rays beat the Tigers 6-1. And the Pirates picked up a second straight victory over the Braves 6-1. And the Mets get a fourth spot in the eighth inning, and the bullpen doesn't blow it. And the Mets win the game 7-3. But we want to talk about Game 3 of the Raptors-Warriors series because Toronto, with a wire-to-wire convincing win over the shorthanded Warriors. And they are now in charge of the series with a 2-1 lead. Doesn't mean they stay in charge, but Toronto's in a good position right now.
Nick Nurse gets a slew of credit. They did what they had to do. They came out, they pressed the pace early, they made the shots, they tried to get him in foul trouble. They knew they were playing a shorthanded team, and we talked about a couple days ago St. Louis playing with pressure against Boston. Mm-hmm. Well, I think Toronto had just as much pressure, thinking they had to win that game without Thompson and without Durant.
Now, let me ask you a question, though. If you had been told before the game starts, Steph Curry's going to score 47 points tonight, would you have felt at all confident that Toronto had any chance to win the game with Curry scoring 47?
Knowing Thompson and Durant weren't playing, no, because I've watched LeBron do it so many times early in the series. And people are making that dialogue now. Oh, look, Curry, this is what LeBron had to do when there was no Kevin Love and no Kyrie the first time we played the Warriors in the championship series, that, without a couple people playing around you, it really doesn't matter what one superstar does.
Well, it sure didn't last night. Now, the Warriors will get one of their stars back in all likelihood for Game 4 because Klay Thompson will, in all likelihood, play. But Kevin Durant ruled out again. He will definitely not be playing in Game 4, and we'll talk with Will Bernanke about that in just a little bit, about the impact that had immediately at the windows, because there was some speculation that, boy, if Durant gets through this scrimmage, that he'll be able to play Game 4. He didn't. I don't even know if he participated in the scrimmage. I don't think he did. He's not going to play in this series, okay?
Yeah, they got some old players, some young players together, and the coaches, and they were planning to scrimmage to see if Durant could make that next step. So at this point, I agree with you. It's been 3 weeks, 4 weeks now, and it's only been a handful of games, but the period of time he's not played, and if he can't even scrimmage, he's done for the series. Yeah,
and
I agree.
Look, the fact of the matter is, we talked with John Lyons about this last week from Lyons Physical Therapy. This is an injury that can get worse. There's certain injuries that, you can play through it because it's probably not going to get any worse. It might be a hindrance, but you're not going to do any long-term damage. That's not the case with this injury. He could clearly turn this into a ruptured Achilles if he goes out there at less than, not 100%, but less than reasonably fit health. You can't do that.
Which then makes it a no-brainer decision.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
No, you can't do that. It's not fair to the player. It's not even fair to the team. You can't put a guy out there who's in that condition. And it's not like a broken leg. If it's a broken leg, I'm not saying you're going to play in a broken leg, but it's already broken. Okay? You can't do anything worse. And that's why we'll see NFL players occasionally play with like a broken arm or something like that. It's already broken. This is something different. This is a muscle tear. It's called a strain, but it's actually a partial tear, as John Lyons explained. So, great stuff from John last week. That's why not only were you happy to have Lyons Physical Therapy as a sponsor, but it's great to get John in studio once in a while to talk about this stuff because he knows what he's talking about, and I don't. All right, let's take a look at some action tonight. We're going to save the Blues-Bruins Game 5 for the marquee matchup from Wager Talk later in the show. That means we're going to focus on baseball right now in the Thursday edition of the MJ Christensen 4 at 4.
1, 2, 3 into the 4.
Put the fours up. Put the fours up, I said. Do it right now.
Tonight's action is just around the bend, and the guys want to get your night off to a great start.
4.
It's the Las Vegas Sportsline's 4 at 4.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. Unbelievable.
And it's the final score. The Rockies have defeated the Cubs at Wrigley 3-1. First time pitcher Lambert with a successful debut for the Rockies. He pitched really well in that game, and that's an angle that continues to be one to at least take a look at when it happens, which is a debuting major league pitcher, not just first start, but first appearance. Now, the team hasn't seen him, and you know the pitcher's going to be excited about it, and sometimes the guy gets blown up, but a lot of times you'll have an advantage early on, and especially when you can catch a nice price, as was available today in the Rockies-Cubs game. Turns out to be a plus-even investment. Nice bet for those who are on the Rockies. Let's look at some of tonight's games. We'll begin with a good matchup at Petco tonight as Joey Lucchesi takes them on for the Padres, and he'll go against the very tough Patrick Corbin for the Nationals. Nationals are on their best run of the season. Ralph, part of it is their starting pitching. They've got 3 real good starters. The oddball part of it is, in this good stretch, Corbin had a lousy start. Steven Strasburg had a lousy start, and they won that. It's just weird how things go sometimes because the Nationals have gotten mostly really good work from this trio, and yet they've lost a lot of those games, especially the ones Scherzer has started. Corbin, very familiar with pitching against the Padres because he saw them so many times as a member of the Diamondbacks. Good matchup of lefties here.
It is, and the home road splits, though, do favor the hometown pitcher with Lucchesi. Corbin on the road with a 4.96 ERA compared to 2.3 at home. Lucchesi, 2.61 with a 0.99 whip, 6.75 on the road. And I look at the Nationals, and while they are 9-2, those wins did come against the White Sox, the Reds, and the Marlins.
Edwin Jackson, in addition to playing for 14 different Major League franchises, also has, I believe, he will be the only player ever to have this distinction. He pitched for both the Las Vegas Stars and the Las Vegas Aviators. Never pitched for the 51s in between, but if you pitch for the Stars, just the mere fact that you pitch for the Las Vegas Stars makes it highly unusual that you would possibly pitch for the Las Vegas Aviators, who just came into being this year. But Edwin Jackson did it. He had more success here than he's having in the majors. This might be the last stop for Jackson.
Might be the last start.
Yeah, I mean, he's just getting killed. He's out there for the Blue Jays tonight. He's facing the Yankees and Jay Happ. Needless to say, the Yankees good favorites in this game.
Edwin Jackson, 4 starts for the Blue Jays. First game gave up 3, second game 6, third game 7, fourth game 10.
Yikes.
A 13.22 ERA.
That's not good.
I will say this about Toronto, though. Happ is a lefty. Against righties, Toronto is 13-30. They're 10-8 against 10-8 against lefties.
And it's not like Jay Happ has been Mr. Automatic this season. He's had games where he looks like Jay Happ, and he's got the strikeout rate up and has great command. But he's also had a bunch of starts where he just kind of looked like an old lefty who's, not all that great anymore. I think Happ is starting to decline to that level. He's got to look. This is a tough lineup tonight. I'm not much for playing over and unders. I just not that good at him, to be quite honest. But this game does look like almost a knee jerk over.
And we'll talk more about that in the Joe's Angle of the Day.
Ah, that's a nice tease. Good radio work by Ralph Michaels. Twins and Indians. And the Twins went into Cleveland playing great ball and really in a position to virtually eliminate the Cleveland Indians from contention in early June. But the Indians have won the first 2 games in this series, and while they're still a long way back of the Twins in the division, it's at least a positive step forward for Cleveland. If they know if they get healthy, maybe they can make a run and get back in this thing. You can't call a division wrapped up in early June. You just can't do it. Unless it's a team we know, like Houston, is a super team that's probably only going to get better. The Twins, as good a story as they've been this season, they don't fall into that category just yet. And we've had some guys who maybe are going to start sliding backwards for Minnesota. One of them is Martin Perez, who got off to a great start this year with this new cutter that he's been featuring, but regression has been starting to take place. We'll see what happens tonight, as it's a good matchup here with Barrios on the mound for the Twins, coming out of a start where he threw the ball really well. His line was okay, but if you watch the start, he had great stuff in that last appearance. He'll go against Trevor Bauer, who's having a baffling season for the Cleveland Indians. I can't help but wonder this, Ralph. His name has come up the most as the most likely individual for the Indians to put on the market if they're sellers come trade deadline.
Preseason, it was either they were trying to get rid of Bauer or Kluber.
Right.
Both were up there.
And Kluber's hurt, so that's not going to be him, obviously. Bauer, therefore, is the trade chip right now for Cleveland. And if we know it, he knows it. And you wonder if that's having some kind of an impact on him mentally, because he just isn't pitching anywhere near the level he did last year.
The Indians are just jinxed. You talk Kluber on the IL, Clevenger on the IL. Last week on the show, you said something's wrong with Carrasco. Lo and behold,
I didn't know what it was.
He ends up on the IL.
Well,
so,
I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I just noticed its velocity was down.
The Indians win the first two games with pitchers called Tyler Clippard, and Shane Bieber pitched. But I'm surprised the Indians are favored. I look at Bauer. I look what he's done in the last 6 starts. He's 1-5. He's got a 5.86 home ERA. And Barrios, I think, is just a pitcher that can get it done. I think there's some value with the Twins. I made the Twins about $1.25 in this game, but I didn't pull the trigger, and I gave them out as an opinion. I didn't give them out as a play.
If you're into home road splits, here's a game where you might see something that's worth taking as far as the starting pitching is concerned. That's the AsAngels matchup with Mike Fiers on the mound for Oakland, and the Angels will counterpart with Southpaw Tyler Skaggs. One guy has been really good at home and bad on the road. Actually, both guys have been good at home and bad on the road, which is an indicator that you kind of want the home guy here. Now, the one fly in the ointment is Oakland's performance against lefties on the road, or just lefties this season. I think they're 12-5 against Southpaws, which isn't shocking considering they have a righty-heavy lineup. That figures to be better against lefties. But this is why I like watching games. It doesn't guarantee it's going to happen the next night, but I like going against teams that give away wins, thanks to what I think is questionable managing or something weird that happens. And I thought Bob Melvin blew the game for Oakland last night with a series of wrong moves, the worst of which was an intentional walk to Mike Trout, which on the surface probably seems, well, wait a minute, it's Trout. Yeah, but there were runners at first and second. And intentionally walking Trout there, I don't know. Especially when you bring in a reliever and he walks the next guy, and that scores what turned out to be the lead run. It wasn't the winning run, but it turned out to be the lead run. Eventually a walk-off win for the Halos. And Ralph, when we were doing first pitch this morning on Wager Talk, you came up with some interesting numbers on teams that enjoy walk-off wins.
I did, and leading the pack are the Cubs. The Cubs are 5-0 the game after a walk-off win. And this isn't a great sample size, but I just tweeted it out today because I thought it was interesting. This season, teams that are off a walk-off win the following game, they're 41-24 plus 14.6 units.
Pretty good.
And there are 5 teams that fall into that category today. 4 teams.
And one of them is not playing,
including the
though.
Angels.
I think the Diamondbacks are off.
Diamondbacks are off, yeah.
Now, would that qualify to the next game if they have an off day? Because I would kind of throw it out.
The numbers that I pulled up, it would. It's just a previous game I did not do with no rest.
All right.
So I agree with you. The momentum would be there. And looking at this game, Athletics have one more win, 13-5 against Southpaws this year.
Okay.
And you are completely right on those pitchers. Let me give you the numbers. Fiers on the road, 6.37 ERA compared to 3.6 at home. Skaggs on the road, 6.23 at home, a 2.28. The Angels have been a decent home favorite. They've played well at home. And the A's now, 3-11 their last 14 as an away dog.
Okay, good stuff. We teased this at the top of the show that CG, which likes to